This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So far. Fast to freedom. Stars tonight together. Here everyone is singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate, King of Gate Wrap-Up Edition. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling feed or on our own dedicated Open the Voice Gate RSS feed on every podcast platform and application applicable. We're on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. I'm one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Iron Mike Spears. And I'm joined as always by Case Lowe. And Case, we've gone from 24 to 12 to 6 to 4. But now we are left now with who is the King of Gate 2020. And somehow all of our conversations talked me out of who I thought was going to win it all along. Case, how are you doing?
Well, I'm fine. I mean, we are living in a reality which is complicated and confusing, and Eita being the King of Gate champion only makes life harder to understand. Now, I don't think Eita is a bad wrestler. I actually, contrary to popular belief, I actually like Eita. Was I a fan of him winning this tournament? Not exactly, Mike. I would like to apologize to you for talking you out of this. I know now that Vegas is opening up, you are looking to gamble away your feelings and gamble away your pain. And I believe you lost a ton of money on the King of Gate finals, which again, my bad. I will be Venmoing you just, to keep a roof over your head. But yeah, Eita is our 2020 King of Gate champion after an exhausting tournament that at times felt brutal to watch, at times was very fun to watch. I leave this tournament feeling hopeful for the future of the company, but Eita is atop the company, and that is just something that I am having trouble wrapping my head around.
Well, let me go through what my thought process was originally with Eita winning this. I assumed that there was not going to be a Kobe World, and I thought that Eita was someone they've been positioning so much, and his perception is so different from how he's positioned that this could be the thing to get him over that hurdle. So I see that happening there. I came into this, I think last week's show, I went fully behind Yamato because I thought that, all right, Yamato could be the one, and that's a good, solid thing to do, and especially if they have a Kobe World, then Yamato versus Doi is your biggest match, in theory. But yeah, so this was a very exhausting period of 4 weeks. A lot of interesting stories came out of here, and I think the idea of Eita destroying every member of the Triangle Gate team, champion team, and then defeating the company ace in Yamato, and defeating the leader of the Toryumon army and open the Dream Gate champion. I don't know how else you could further propel this guy and try to change his perception over the period of one tournament. This is, I don't want to say this is like Genki Horiguchi and the night where the Backslide from Heaven took over the world, but this is something that for a while King of Gate has been so predictable, and it's table setting. But this time I feel that they try to do something. It'll be interesting to see when crowds come back, and we have every belief to believe that crowds are coming back relatively soon for Dragon Gate, that we'll see if this really did its job.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Horiguchi thing, like you said, for a number of reasons. I mean, Eita will not be able to coast, for lack of a better term, on this King of Gate victory for the rest of his career, because with the exception of Horiguchi's heel turn in the late 2000s and early 2010s, I mean, Horiguchi has a character that is defined off of April 22nd, 2003. So it's not that. And I went into this in the June 7th, Night 10 King of Gate review over at voicesofwrestling.com. Because there was only one match to review, I gave a brief history on the King of Gate tournament, and really broke down the last few winners of the tournament. Because if you look at the history of King of Gate, which begins in 2005, it's been very successful for a lot of those winners. Ryo Saito in 2005, this is when King of Gate was at the end of the year. He won the tournament, wins the Dream Gate in early 2006. Naruki Doi did the same thing in 2008. Masato Yoshino in both 2015 and 2018 won King of Gate and then went on to win the Dream Gate. Yamato did that in 2016. And Ben K, obviously, last year went undefeated en route to defeating Pac at Kobe World. Whether the future holds the same fate for Eita or not is yet to be decided. Judging from the translations after the match, which I know Mike has, are we even getting another Eita versus Doi match? Like, I am so confused as to the direction of specifically the main event scene now. So, Mike, do you want to read those translations and then we can maybe speculate on where things go from here?
Sure. So these were from Jay on Twitter at DG_J. As there was a lot of stuff that happened post-match, he provided some translations of basically what happened. Basically, after he got the trophy, which was the first time in a long time they've actually had a trophy for anything related to Dragon Gate. That's something coming back. I like that. And tearing up the victory sign. He then tried to take the Dream Gate since he beat the champion. And as King of Gate winner is called I forget the citation that they had on the screen all throughout. I think it was to decide Dragon Gate #1 championship is what King of Gate was called this year. He argued that he was the top guy in the company now, and that means that it's higher than the Dream Gate and that he should just take it. Doi said that he tapped in the middle of the ring. He won. Eita, of course, won with the El Numero Uno, and he accepted the shame, so he thinks that since you defeated him, that Eita deserves a title match. Eita said that losing in the finals is the exact same as losing in the first round. Either way, you're a loser. Just hand over the title. That's when Takayuki Yagi interjected and said that if you want a title match, he has to challenge for it, and he'll gladly make the match. Eita then tosses down Yagi, calls the whole thing bullshit. He's already proved that he's the strongest, and he's going to do whatever he wants, however he wants. And he wonders when Yoshino's going to retire. Maybe if Yoshino retires now, he'll give Doi the privilege of defending against him. And then he walked out. He did not take the trophy from backstage, but then him and RED left the ring as Eita put his mark on the end of of King of Gate.
So, Mike, where does that leave us? What do you think is next? Are we getting that Eita versus Doi rematch at some version of a Kobe World? Is Eita versus Yoshino now the planned direction? Where do you think things are going from here?
Well, I'm of two minds, as I'm often am with Eita. But I look at this two ways. There's the traditional Royal Road, Championship Road that they do, that you go get your title match. So he would face Doi. That's not always been the case with the Dream Gate, and that's not always been the case with what would be Kobe World Pro Wrestling Festival, but that's traditionally what's been done, especially more so in modern times. Or only one person's going to have Masato Yoshino's last match. And I've said that, like, if someone could really get something out of being the person who retires Yoshino, Eita's probably the person who can get the most out of it. And that's certainly been the focus of his year so far, and since that announcement happened. So I'm really of two minds. Like, I do think that Eita's never had a Dream Gate title match. This would be the first time he receives a Dream Key. And that was always something that I feel like hurt his perception. So having the title match, even if he loses, I don't know if that really hurts him. Especially if it's going to be like in some sort of a Kobe World or without a Kobe World. Like if it's just going to be a match at Sambo Hall next month. I think that that's still accomplishing the thing there. And it gets into how much stock the fans put into winning King of Gate. Him versus Yoshino has been such an overriding point that I don't think he simply gives that away. He's someone that has been embroiled in these long blood feuds that I'm now more so than ever think that the final match for Masato Yoshino, if it's not going to be like a good feelings, like 6-man or 8-man tag, has to be against Eita.
So Yes, there's two things here. First of all, the idea of Kobe World in 2020, we've been told it's very unlikely that there can be a crowd at Kobe World Hall where the event has typically been held. Whereas on the flip side, if they put the show in Kobe Sambo Hall with the guidelines that have been given, there is a realistic chance they could have close to a full capacity, if not a full capacity, at Kobe Sambo Hall. That is what somebody that lives in Japan was explaining to us. So you are 100% right that Yoshino's final match will have Eita involved in some way, or at least Yoshino's final singles match, because I could see them doing a thing where, it's Eita versus Yoshino on a pay-per-view, and then you come to Korakuen Hall and you do your big Yoshino farewell and everybody cries and it'll be a beautiful moment. That is a very realistic possibility of what will happen, because ultimately Eita will be involved, and if he doesn't, there is a major flaw in the story that is being told there. What I wonder is just with the fact that it's been so tough to build any stories because there haven't been any shows, and for the fact that Kobe World and Kobe World Hall at 100% capacity is going to be impossible this year, I do wonder if there is an audible in play, something that would be akin to the old Toryumon shows, which there has been a lot of that with the old El Numero Uno format, the increase of Battle Royals, the fact that Ultimo Dragon is now in the company, which I still can't get over even a year after he debuted now, or close to a year. There has only been one Kobe World that has not been headlined by an Open the Dream Gate Championship match. That was Kobe World 2006, when Shima and Magnitude Kishiwada had a no ropes match. But if you look at the Toryumon Anniversario show from 2002, it is headlined by a three-way trios match with Crazy Max, M2K, and the Toryumon Sekigun of Dragon Kid, Masaki Mochizuki, and Ryo Saito. I do wonder if that is now a possibility. If they are not going to give Eita that Dreamgate shot, they're going to give him his big match against Yoshino at a later date, and at World they do some sort of Toryumon versus Dragon Gate versus RED 9-man match to headline the show. Do you think that is a realistic possibility at all?
I think that having the big 3-way 6-man tag is probably, and especially like the idea that this really hasn't happened in this feud so far, there's a lot to be done there. And there are a lot of people that I find kind of interesting right now in the wrestling industry, especially over the last 3 months, that have not shown up in places that I feel like might end up showing up in that capacity. I hope I'm not being too vague or people understand who I'm talking about, but I could see that happen, and if that happens, no better way for someone to make a appearance than to be in that match. So it's interesting.
Again, like a Doi Yoshino Ultimo versus Yamato KZ Dragon Dia versus, Eita Hulk Shimazu. That is enough star power, in my opinion, to headline an altered Kobe World. To me, that would make sense if that's the direction they go, because, full capacity, half capacity, no capacity. Actually, no capacity is different, because the no capacity Kobe Sambo Hall crowd that is made up of the Dragon Gate roster is actually hotter than most of the Kobe Sambo Hall crowds that we get anyways. So if it's a no capacity show, hell, do the Dream Gate match. That will be a red hot crowd.
Genki Horiguchi will be all over that, getting that.
It would be incredible. But if you're in some half capacity setting, or you're in Sambo Hall where everybody's going to be in mask and it's going to be still you're re-emerging into this new world,
right?
I mean, a Dreamgate match would be good. I firmly believe that a Doi versus Eita Dreamgate match is fine, but I find the idea of the 9-man tag to be far more entertaining and appealing and interesting in this environment, because to go forth and act like everything is normal and to say, oh, well, it's Kobe World, we have a Dreamgate match at the top of the card, yes, that's fine, I understand the sentiment behind that, but we've lost out on 4 months of story now. I mean, Dragon Gate was set up at the beginning of the year to have what was going to be a hallmark, landmark story that was going to take place for likely the entire calendar year, if not longer. And we just missed, we missed out on a dead or alive cage match that was going to have insane ramifications. We don't know what they were, but with a story of this magnitude, like they were going to load up dead or alive, and that just never happened. And now that we are under the assumption that there'll be shows with crowds during the back half of the year, I think kickstarting whatever story is left to be told with this feud should be done. It should be headlining the alternate state of Kobe World. And judging from the Eita promo, because there's no reason to speculate if Eita says, yes, I want the title match at Kobe World, because then it's set and we're done talking about it. But Eita wasn't saying that. And it was weird to me that he was dancing around directly wanting to challenge for the title. Maybe the ship service and his character's version of being a little deceptive, but I didn't see it that way. It seemed like they were trying to avoid doing an Eita versus Doi match.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think that's a fair thing to say. And I would even argue, let's not just stick at a 9-man. I would make it a 12-person tag, because you left out Benkei, Dragon Kid, and I don't know, I'm just going to throw a name out here who I haven't seen around that I think would be very interesting to come in and would really help out RED, Shuji Kondo.
Yes, that is a possibility. It is weird to think, well, I guess I said Dragon Dia forgetting that he was 1/3 of the Triangle Gate champion, because I specifically didn't mention Benkei, because I was like, oh, we need a Triangle Gate match, but I forgot that Benkei is also holding a title right now. And there's, again, Shuji Kondo, to our knowledge, was supposed to be in King of Gate this year, and that has been said publicly at this point that Kondo was going to be, or at least the plan was for him to be involved in the tournament. So it seems like Kondo is coming back in some way. We obviously still have Shun Skywalker and Yuki Yoshioka in Mexico. That's the other insane thing about this year.
Right,
not only that Skywalker and Yoshioka are trapped in Mexico, but think about how good Dragon Gate has been under these circumstances without Shun Skywalker, who was far and away the best worker in the company last year. Like, that is a testament to just how good this roster is, that they took away their in-ring ace, not their company ace, but their in-ring home run hitter. And the match quality, given the circumstances, remember, January and February were really hot months for this company, and they were doing it without Skywalker, which I thought was super impressive. So there's new talent that could enter the fold. I mean, we're getting a better understanding of what's to come in terms of scheduling and shows, but at the same time, we have no idea what is going to be on these shows. And it is incredibly exciting. It is a little bit concerning given the focus on Eita and his inability to constantly deliver in the clutch, but things are happening and stories are being told, and that feels good. That feels new, because we went so many months without that.
One last thing about, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, they held a lot in the tank in this finals match. Eita did not really go for some of his crazier stuff. We had a teaser muscular bomb. It was not hit, and Doi does the Bakatari sliding kick each match. So, like, there's still a lot that they left back in the tank, so I could still see the fact that this could be a Dreamgate match coming up at Pseudo Kobe World Pro Wrestling Festival.
Yes.
Just to play devil's advocate there.
Well, and you will end up being right. It will shock me 0%. It is expected that Doi versus Eita will headline Kobe World. I just would find it to be far more interesting if they went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Because you're right, there's so much more left in the tank. I mean, the interesting parts of the Doi versus Eita match was the fact that Eita had been cleaning everybody's clock with the Imperial Uno super kick throughout the tournament. And then when he wrestled Doi, he went to the numero uno arm submission, which, he was tearing up Akira Tozawa and Shingo Takagi's shoulder with that move 5 years ago. And over the past year or two, it had kind of taken a backseat to the super kick that he had perfected. And now you see Doi tapping to this arm submission that hadn't been used in a long time. And it just feels like there's so much more they can play off with that. Again, the muscular bomb is still in play. Like, there will be a chapter 2, or at least there should be, with Doi and Eita in this context. I just feel like, given the circumstances of the globe, it would be very on brand of Dragon Gate, and I think it would be very interesting if they didn't directly go to that match.
No, I think that's really fair to say, and one of the things that I think that they did an incredibly smart move, and this is just a plea for this, whatever this show is going to be, I think one of the best things they did was doing it live on YouTube. Like doing a 3-way 9-man tag as the main event of like your first crowd show back, I think would be that would be such a big thing, because there was a kind of like a peak up when that show happened on YouTube, right? Like it wasn't just me noticing that. Like
no, there was interest there because people were able to watch a show with English commentary.
Right.
That's good enough for most people. And as I talk about constantly in my reviews, there is no higher bar in wrestling than the house style of Dragon Gate, because a regular 6-man tag in this company, I mean, we're talking about a 3.5, 3 3/4, 4-star 6-man tag in Dragon Gate. If you put that match anywhere else in the world, we are talking about match of the year contender. I mean, it's just the working standard is so high. It's the Do Fixer versus Blood Generation Supercard of Honor match. That's not the best Do Fixer versus Blood Generation match, but it was transported into a universe where they're not as familiar with those moves. There is no company on earth that can do the 9-man trios match at all, but let alone to the crispness and the working standard that Dragon Gate has. And as companies return to the fray, and as we went months without a ton of content, and we are about to get flooded with matches and crowds and a bunch of mediocre stuff in front of half-capacity buildings, which is not the wrestler's fault, but that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be the same right away. But if Dragon Gate wants any sort of market share, at least among Western fans, if they want their attention, the 9-man tag is the way to go, because no other company on earth can even attempt to duplicate what they do in those matches.
And having that on a venue and having that freely available, I think would be a big home run for them as well. Any other thoughts you have of the tournament? We didn't really touch on the semifinals at all, where Doi got his return win against Ishita and Yamato lost to Eita. I thought that, they came out of this tournament with like 3 good semifinals and finals matches, and I was pretty happy with like the end ring product after some really dire things. I think like the last 2 weeks they've probably put together some of the stronger weekends of the tournament.
So if you haven't seen any King of Gate yet, if you've been afraid to dip your toes under the water because the Voices of Wrestling flagship guys haven't been as positive on King of Gate, and we haven't loved every second of it, if you've kind of held off, but you want to check some of the stuff out, it's real simple. Watch Night 9 and Night 10. Watch the semifinals, watch the rookie tag that starts that show, and then watch the finals, which is Night 10. Because the semifinals, it's the lesser of the 2 Doi versus Ishita matches. I thought this match was just okay after they had a great match the week before. But Eita versus Yamato, I mean, Mike and I have been responsible for a lot of anti-Yamato sentiment over the past 2.5 years, and it is granted. I stand by most of that because, God, I hated him in 2017. I look at some of those cards now for research stuff, and I have zero memory of these Yamato matches. I know I watched them and reviewed them, but God, I have no memory of them. But Yamato was so good in this tournament. If there was an MVP for King of Gate this year, it's Yamato, because I gave his match with Ryo Saito in the opening round 3 3/4. I gave his KZ match 3 3/4. His Diamante match was fine. I mean, the cards were stacked against him there. And then against Eita, I gave him 3 3/4 as well. He was in my best 3 matches of the tournament, with the 4th match being Eita versus Doi in the finals. But Yamato, so damn good. And he and Eita, who had not had real singles matches against one another, man, they delivered. I want to see that match in front of a crowd, in front of people. I think coming away from this tournament, I want more Yamato versus Eita, and I want more Dragon Dia versus Eita. I think those are 2 very interesting and very fresh matchups.
Yeah, so your MVP is Yamato. My MVP is another person that we really didn't touch on at all on this episode so far, and that's Kaito Ishita. I thought that even though this was a step back from their block final match, I feel like that Kaito Ishita has put a step forward where we were talking privately, and we had the moment of, oh my God, Kaito Ishita is only 24. And he's already someone that I feel like, as we've talked on previous updates, his ceiling has now gone up so sky high, and especially just like this, he did not have a bad match this tournament. He did not have the tough out that Yamato had with Diamante, and I felt like he just had nonstop bangers. And I think we're looking at a guy now, and we're actually looking at a unit now that RED came into basically after the Christmas surprise of the two demons, trying to figure out where they're going to be and what position it's going to be. They're leaving King of Gate now with Eita, at least, truly getting pushed like a number one heel, and then Kaito Ishita being like his like serial killer number 2. And I think that's incredibly exciting. Like, I'm really excited to see what the remainder of this Brave Gate run is going to be for Kaito Ishita and what he's going to do afterwards.
I was reading some archives of mine at voicesofwrestling.com, some old Dragon Gate reviews a few days ago, which, by the way, don't, if it's published by me before 2019, do not read it. Same goes for this podcast. Don't listen to any episodes before, like, last year's Kobe World Preview, because the show, Mike was doing a great job for a while. Any episode I was on before that, I'm sure I was actively dragging it down. But I went back and read some abysmal writing because I wanted to get the feeling on what my thoughts were of Kaito Ishida at the time that he debuted, because I remember loving Yamamura, and then Yamamura had the big breakout match against Shimizu at the February 2017 Korakuen Hall show, and then it became Yamamura Mania for like 2 months before he got hurt, unfortunately. But I forgot that Ishida was an incredibly touted prospect as well, and he had really started to find himself as a worker. And then, much like the rest of his class, whether it be a UT or a Dragon Dia, who were all lumped into that rookie class last year, despite maybe some nefarious rookie standing in terms of their lineage. But Kaito Ishida got hurt and then came back and figured it out. And he is now continuing to evolve in a way, and we talked about this a little bit last week, in a way that I just never expected Kaito Ishida to get it, and to be over to this degree, and to be this entertaining as both a wrestler and as a character. And Mike brought it up to me that watching this rematch with Naruki Doi, it felt like the seeds were being planted for Ishida to eventually take over a heel unit and lead them in the future, because I think for a long time, not necessarily comparing the charisma of the two, but I had looked at Ishida as someone like a Susumu Yokosuka, where it's like, okay, I know what that guy is. That's kind of the work rate guy of the group. He's always going to have good matches, and that's going to be his role. But you now have to look at Kaito Ishida as an M2K era Masaki Mochizuki. I mean,
Yeah,
he is jumping out to me as
comp.
someone that can lead units, that can lead the company. And it's so exciting to see him in that role, because I loved Ishida when he debuted. I never would have imagined he would be this good.
And it's something that I was taken aback by how young he was when we were talking. And the idea,
only 24, like you said, turns 25 in December.
like, this run has been the thing that, like, now in retrospect, he really was like a teenager, young adult doing things. He feels like he still has the youth on his side, which is something that the company will need, as we have talked about Kobe World 2025, like him as like this. But he feels like an evil man now versus being a kick boy. And I think that's really exciting.
Speaking of young guys,
Oh, boys, let's get into this.
so we had 2 rookies debut here. I'm looking at their profiles on the Gaiora site right now, and other than Fujikawa, I just learned that the 3 other guys, Kabune, and Kamai, and Kakuta, are all younger than me, which sucks.
Welcome to my life, Case. Welcome to my life.
Bums me out. But oh boy, that is going to take a minute to recover from. But
This is a moment in your life, Case. This is a moment.
I felt that way watching Zion last year in March Madness, where it's like, oh, he's amazing. Like, he's doing all of these things, and he carries himself like a grown man, and he has these athletic feats. Oh, how old is he? Oh, he's 18. Cool. No, that's good. And how much did he sign the shoe contract for? Oh, he's a 19-year-old walking around with $100 million. No, that's cool, man. I mean, that's good. Like, I'm happy for him. But, oh, that sucks.
Steph Curry was that for me.
I have liked Steph since his Davidson days.
And I've hated him because of his Davidson days. But
we'll have a separate Steph Curry podcast. I have been right about him all along, and historically he is underrated. And if you have issues with that statement, tweet me at _in_your_case. But Mike, what about these Dragon Gate rookies?
So this was the bonus match, which was Madoka Kakuta and Sora Fujikawa's debut on the first night, which I was kind of surprised that they didn't have this as like they put this up with the finals. They want to make the finals their own thing. I thought that might have been the case, that they were going to do the semifinals and then bonus match and finals, but this was a part of the June 6th release where they faced off against the big rookies from last year and Kento Kabune and Takedo Kamai. And Kamai got a win with the move that I think is, I'm still wrapping my head around. It was they call it a modified Boston Crab, which is what it kind of was. Be like chicken wings Sora Fujikawa's arm and does a little bit of a cloverleaf action with his ankles. Like, I've watched this match now twice. They won in 9 minutes and 47 seconds. We now have a genuine rivalry now at the bottom of the cards that really wasn't around for class of 2016 of Hyo, Shun Skywalker, and Benkei. We do have like this kind of like, now we have like these two pairs of guys. Now we're going to see like this go on here. And boy, this was interesting because you get Kento Kabune, who is you liken him to Naruki Doi. And we have Takedo Kamai, who is probably about the size of, he's bigger than UT, but he's like Dragon Kid size, against Madoka Kakuta, who 5'10", I think 5'10" is probably a realistic thing. I think I saw like his height in centimeters and was like listed as 5'9", but he looked a little taller than that. And Sora Fujikawa, who not much shorter than him, and they just had like 10 minutes of them just chopping the crap out of each other.
So I watched this match twice. I watched it once for the review, and I was watching it very intently, and then I went back today and I watched it, and the same thing jumped out to me on the second viewing as it did the first, which is Madoka Kakuta gets a hot tag in this match, which is essentially his tag in is the first bits of his career, and he explodes off of the ropes and hits this running bicycle kick, and I was sold. I mean, this kid just jumps off of the page in a way, and is a testament to the Dragon Gate Dojo, which has consistently not only pushed out quality talent, but has pushed out quality talent, and they are talented as soon as they debut. Now, granted, their methods of training, their methods of debuting guys a little bit different than the traditional Noah All Japan. I would say Noah, but when was their last dojo graduate? I guess they're champion, but I don't like him, so it doesn't matter.
Or like New Japan, where you're in tights and you're doing everyone's kind of the same thing for up until your excursion. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas here, the moveset is increased. You're allowed to have a little bit of a look. Although they, like Kota Minoura debuted in black tights, but then 2 months later had gear and had moves and was able to evolve rather quickly. These guys came into the company with gear, with moves, and just with a fire that is not exclusive to the young boy persona and the young boy style of wrestling. This struck me as fire that is going to translate throughout their entire careers. And we know, there's the thing, Kakuta and his partner here, Sora Fujikawa, Fujikawa, they were supposed to debut earlier in the year. So they were supposed to be even closer to the Kabune and Kamai debut, and they debuted at the end of December last year. And Mike, we both know there's more people in the dojo. There is another army of young wrestlers coming up right now. And it's just like how we talked about in 2015, 2016, where it was Shimizu and T-Hawk and Eita and Lindemann and Ishida and Yamamura. And we're like, Dragon Gate's set for the next 10 years. Like, they've got their guys. And then Shimizu became Kevin Nash. Yamamura got hurt. T-Hawk and Lindemann left. Eita became whatever the hell he is. And then Ishida has kind of figured it out. But we're now in that same position where it's Kota Minoura and it's Dragon Dia and it's Shun Skywalker and it's Kento Kabune to Kaito Kamai, Madoka Kakuta, and Sora Fujikawa. And if this match doesn't get you excited about the prospects and the possibilities of what is to come in this company, then I do not know what to tell you. Because this, I gave this match 3.25 stars. It was fine in the grand scheme of things, but this is Fujikawa and Kakuta's debut match, and they looked so comfortable in the ring, and it was so delightful to see. And we have that great picture up at Open Voice Gate on Twitter of a caption that says the future is bright, and it's these four chopping away at one another. And I just have a feeling that picture is going to stay with us as we move into the next 3, the next 5, the next decade of this company. That is going to be a picture that is going to be burned into our brains because, guys can get hurt, guys can leave, things are going to change. But if you look at them on the surface level right now and the talent they displayed in this match, my God, the future is bright for this company.
And it's one of those things that when we talk about Dragon Gate, and I think that this is something that does not necessarily get enough credit for. Dragon Gate turns out people who are ready for the roster, who are ready for big roles, and are ready to just be interjected at like such a level that, I mean, I have something that I clued in Case a little bit ago where I write down all of the debuts and all the things with this. Since 2015, including these 5 guys, which I've not updated for, they have 15 new people on the roster. Sadly, Yamamura is done. Katsumi Takashita had to retire. But that's still 13 people who are still in the roster. And you look at this, Benkei, former Dreamgate champion, that he had his establishment ring. Shun Skywalker and Yuki Yoshioka on excursion. Hyo's a factor now. I mean, he's not necessarily going to be a world beater, but he's back at it. And then you have Dragon Dia, Strong Machine J. You have Kabune and Kamai. We have Masahiro Inoue, who showed up at the Toryumon reunion thing, who has not had matches since. And then we know that more is coming. You look at this promotion. This is a promotion where there are some big age gaps and some things that is going to change over the next decade. But you look at how many people they are turning out and how the system's producing things. This is the part of wrestling I really love, Case. I love watching these wrestlers develop. I love seeing Madoka Kakuta and Sora Fujikawa's first match and just like looking and seeing what is the possibilities with you. Like, how are you going to grow? How are you going to change throughout your career? And it's just incredibly exciting to have a match like this. It's something worth going back and revisiting, and it's something that I'm very glad that this is a kind of match that probably would have happened maybe at a Kobe Sambo Hall show, maybe at Hakata, at Across Fukuoka. But having this like here in this context and on this stage with how weird the world in it is, being able to like have this kind of stage just for these 4 guys, I feel like it is something that could be very special.
Yeah, it was a delightful match. It was one of those that kind of made this entire King of Gate process worth it. Like, just having this match to me justified the entire tournament's existence this year, because this was so fun, and it's exactly that. I love the fact that in Dragon Gate you are able to follow these guys from the beginning. I mean, I will still have a place in my heart for Al Lindemann, although he has become nothing more than DDT comedy fodder. Like, I remember reviewing Lindemann's first match as Yuga Hayashi and being like, oh yeah, that's going to be a guy like that. He will be successful in the wrestling industry, and factors beyond his control have prevented that to some extent. But your Skywalkers and your Minoras and your Yoshiokas, like these guys, if they stay healthy and they are able to control some uncontrollables, which is an impossible task, but it's just they have the talent to become stars. And briefly, if you are interested in watching more debut matches, seeing this lineage, if you are a Dragon Gate Network subscriber right now, the Dragon Gate Network has been uploading the You Were Young Then series, which is people's debut matches. Now, they've been doing these once a week. They did troll us with the last update. Last week's updates were Strong Machine J and Dragon Dia, both of which were matches already on the network. And I was livid when I saw that these were the matches they uploaded, because besides that, like the BB Hulk debut against Asuma Yokosuka and the Ben K debut, which was at a next show against T-Hawk, which have been keeping a file on my computer of what I thought was the earliest Ben K footage we had. Dragon Gate Network threw me a bone and said, no, here is his debut. There's so much fun stuff on these shows. There's a Punch Tamanaga match from a Bayuden show, which I didn't realize that Dragon Gate had the right to upload that footage, and now makes me say, why don't you upload the damn shows? But there's so much good stuff here, and it is just one of those things. Dragon Gate, they have their flaws, they have their issues, but they nail debuts, and it is so exciting when new talent enters the fray. I completely forgot there was a kid that debuted at the Toryumon show. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that because I just spaced it. There's so much talent here, and it is so exciting.
And there's more to come. I know that there are people in the dojo, like, they didn't completely shut down during the off period. They were still training the trainees there, at least for the people who still lived in the dojo. So there should be some real exciting stuff. And I'm stoked to see, like, we haven't really even, like, scratched the surface with someone like Madoka Kakuta. You know? Kikut. I got the name right when I was pronouncing it before. Madoka Kakuta. I think that he has something really interesting to watch. I'm interested to see Sora Fujikawa and see how he kind of evolves with that.
They've had one match. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
we're planning these guys' careers out off of one match. And that is, I mean, it is because, you know, Mike and I are who we are and we're fanatical and we like this product so much, but also because there's so much potential and there's so much talent in that one match that you can't help but get excited about this.
Yeah, and we've already seen, like, someone like Kabune, who they already think pretty highly of. Kamei is someone that, like, there must have been, like, a Yave day that he picked up that hole, and it's just going to be interesting to watch them to develop thoroughly, and maybe if there's still more stuff in the can that they're going to pull out before we have live shows, I would love to see what these four guys would do against regular roster members and see how they develop. But because we do have 2 more matches that they are putting out on the network this weekend, that I don't know if you caught this earlier, but we have a match coming up on the 13th and we have an All Japan World Junior Heavyweight Championship match on the 14th.
Mike, not only did I catch this, I tweeted it out from our account at Open VoiceGate before there was an English translation. I caught it on the Japanese site this morning and posted it because I am so committed to the craft. Now, yes, there's, as of now, and I hope there's more added to these shows, but if there's not, if it's just the 2 matches, Mike and I will talk about it on audio next week, and there will not be a written review. If they add more matches to these, I'll do a write-up, but as of right now, it's just June 13th. There's a 6th man between Jason Lee, UT, and Oji Shiba against Yosuke Santamaria, Kota Minoura, and Ho-Ho Loon. And then on the 14th, the All Japan Junior Heavyweight title match that Mike mentioned, Susumu Yokosuka against Hokuta Omori, who I know nothing about.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't watch All Japan other than like this. So I know that Hikaru Sato was a match that they had previously set for Dragon Gate show that they did.
I thought it was a
Japan.
translation error when I first read it. I assumed it was Sato, and then I ran to cage match because, again, I have a thing with Kento Miyahara where I think he's good but overrated. I don't watch a ton of All Japan, and my big blind spot this year has been Susumu's run there. So when I saw this name, I was like, I think that's somebody, but I also think it could be a Google Translate error. But no, it is Hokuta Omori. So it's a Susumu singles match. It's guaranteed to be good at least. But as of now, we just have those 2 matches on the cards.
And I'm really hoping that means that they have more stuff out of the can, because the next show that they have on the schedule, because of how cancellations have been and how the company's opening up, technically is Kobe World. That's the last one they have on the schedule, and we'll see how that changes between then. I'm certain that this is a situation in flux. This is something that's still going to be moving. And yes, he did fight Hikaru Sato on a match last month. So
yeah, that was at an All Japan show. I heard that match was very good. I just have not seen that. It should be noted that Dragon Gate missed the cutoff day on Korakuen Hall events by 1 day. They had their July Korakuen scheduled on the 9th. Korakuen reopens on the 10th. So it is unfortunate that they missed out by such a small period of time there. I am assuming that we will continue to have weekend uploads like this until a more definitive schedule is laid out, but we do not know for sure. But we at least know that if you're listening to this when it comes out, which is likely June 11th, then on June 13th and June 14th, you have more Dragon Gate content to consume.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to do it for us here on this update. Case, anything you want to talk about or plug before we get out of here?
No, I mentioned the Dragon Gate Network rookie series they're doing, and then the Dragon Gate Network. I mean, Mike and I should do a better job of discussing this, but they are there is a nice library of Toryumon classics there, both the single match files, and then they are up to May and June of 2001 in the Vamonos Amigos TV series. So you have, at this point, the first 2 years of Toryumon available on the network. And if that's something you're interested in diving into, but you have questions, you can always reach out to me at _in_your_case or on the Open the Voice Gate account at Open Voice Gate, and Mike and I will try to get back to you because we want people watching this stuff. But I don't know how many people are taking advantage of the archives, which is unfortunate because there was some really, really good stuff in here.
And it's something for like Case and I, as we've watched it on different means. Now having the ability to see this stuff remastered from the originals is really cool as well. Being able to see some of the really historic Toryumon matches that in previous you get the DVD copy or your tape and it'll be second or third gen and have some levels of degradation. Now it's there, upscaled, and it's really remarkable stuff. If we don't get a whole lot of matches coming out over the next few weeks, we'll probably pick something from the archive to talk about. I think that's what we should do, Case.
Yes, I am all in favor of that.
But yeah, you can find me at Fujiheya on Twitter. And again, follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. But until next time, take care, everyone.